Hi, I'm Jason Brownell with Polyfuze Graphics Corporation, and today I'm going to show you just how easy it is to apply our Polyfuze graphic using standard hot stamp or heat transfer equipment, how our technology is different from other decorating methods like in-mold labeling, hot stamp foil, and heat transfers, and then how you can also increase your branding value of your injection molded products. For our Polyfuze graphic demo, we're going to be using a United Silicone US-25. It's a 2.5-ton machine. It's not imperative that you use this particular brand, as our Polyfuze graphics will work with any standard hot stamp or heat transfer machine. It is important, however, to understand the different components and settings of the machine, because once you have those settings dialed in, it's going to make for a very repeatable process. Let's go ahead and take a look at the machine. Okay, let's take a real quick look at the payout section. Up on top here is where you would actually put your customized Polyfuze graphics. You'll notice that we actually print an index mark in the carrier margin of the carrier film, which acts as a point of reference for the photo eye. Now, the photo eye component actually reads the index mark. That's what's going to help us to accurately align the Polyfuze graphic with the dye material. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our heat settings. Okay, taking a look here quickly at the control panel, I have my temperature set at 550 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got my dwell time set at 1 second. We're working with high density polyethylene. This can change depending on what kind of material you're decorating, anywhere between, say, a half a second to 1.5 seconds. The other thing to remember is we are actually fusing two materials together, so they're going to be in a molten state for a split second. So we're going to add just a little bit of head-up delay on this. So now let's go ahead and actually stamp a part. This is a piece of high-density polyethylene sheet material. We're going to go ahead and put this into our custom fixture to hold it nice and firm. And we're going to go ahead and stamp it now. Remember, our dye material is at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, even though we set our machine at 550 Fahrenheit, because there's a temperature loss when you're working with silicone. So let's go ahead and cycle the machine. And that is how easy it is to apply a Polyfuze graphic. So you saw just how easy it is to decorate a piece of polyethylene using the Polyfuze graphic technology. But it's important that you understand the differences. We don't print with any sort of adhesive. We don't print with any sort of ink or any non-compatible materials for that matter. Our graphic is polyethylene fused into your plastic, and nobody else can claim this. In fact, when you take a Polyfuze graphic and you fuse it into your polyethylene, it literally becomes one piece of plastic. And once you begin to understand that polyethylene and polypropylene only fuse together with like materials and actually reject foreign materials like adhesive and ink and paper substrates, then Polyfuze begins to make perfect sense on why it outlasts and outperforms other decorating technologies. For example, we take our graphics, we put it through a battery of tests, from QUV testing, for example, that simulates the effects of weather. We put it through a battery of chemical tests, including fuels. And one test that you can do on your end to ensure that the graphic has actually fused into the plastic is a standard ASTM tape test. And I'd like to go ahead and illustrate that for you now. A standard test for adhesion actually requires you using a razor knife and cross-hatching the surface, putting tape over the top of it, and then peeling that tape off to test for adhesion. So let's go ahead and do that now. And as you can see, absolutely nothing came off on the tape, which is what's to be expected since they're now one piece of plastic. To further show just how durable these graphics are, I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down with an aggressive solvent. In this case, we're using some lacquer thinner. And as you'll notice, no smearing and no residue left on the paper towel. Because Polyfuze Graphics outlast and outperform other decorating technologies, you can understand why we're the industry leader when it comes to decorating polyolefin materials. We're competitively priced, and we custom tailor each individual graphic to your project. For example, we can provide you with a matte finish for your product. We can also provide you with a glossy finish, and this is going to be appropriate for the entire polyolefin family of plastics, whether it's polyethylene and its derivatives, polypropylene, structural foam, even TPO and others as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this demo today. I hope that you understand how easy it is to use a Polyfuze graphic with standard hot stamp or heat transfer equipment, why we add branding value to your projects, and how Polyfuze is the missing link to your decorating issues. Thank you for joining us today. I look forward to answering any questions that you may have and hopefully decorating your next project.